The first time I collapsed into his arms, I thought I might actually melt on the spot. Not from embarrassment, though that was there too, but from the absurdly intoxicating warmth of him holding me like I was the most fragile thing in the world. He laughed soft, teasing, a little cruel, and the sound echoed in my chest longer than it should have. "Guess you need a crown now, Your Highness?" he whispered, fingers brushing a stray hair from my forehead. I shot him a glare that couldn't mask the thrill coursing through me. Only he could get away with calling me that. Only he could make me feel like a character in some ridiculous romantic novel, yet so real I could almost touch it. We had met 3 months ago at a cafe downtown. Me fumbling with my laptop, him spilling coffee on my notebook, and somehow, somewhere between apologies and mockery, something had sparked. It didn't make sense to anyone else, but somehow, it made all the sense in the world to us. Life had been ordinary and predictable before him. I followed routines, crossed streets on green lights, sipped black coffee at exactly 8 in the morning, and avoided drama like it was contagious. And then he arrived wild, unpredictable, laughing at the smallest things, eyes bright with mischief, and everything I had thought I knew about myself got turned upside down. His name was Ryan. Broad-shouldered, easy smile, hair like the color of late autumn chestnuts. And that laugh. God, that laugh. Dangerous, like it belonged to someone who had read all the rules and then decided to write his own. He had a way of teasing that felt like a game I didn't want to weenie wanted to stay lost in it forever. The first evening I ever fainted into his arms was no exception. We had gone for a walk in the city park late spring, cherry blossoms scattering like pink snow. The sun was slipping behind the skyline, turning everything golden. I had tried to make a joke about pigeons being the true rulers of the world, and before I knew it, the ground had rushed up to meet me. "Hey, hey, don't you dare." Ryan's voice cracked with panic for a second before it melted into laughter when he caught me. And I didn't just mean caught, Mayhay cradled me like I was the last piece of fragile china in the world. My cheek pressed against his chest. I felt the thrum of his heartbeat, steady, alive, grounding. I could hear him muttering something under his breath, something about princesses and fainting, and I wanted to scold him, but the words lodged somewhere between awe and disbelief. "You're ridiculous," I murmured, trying to push myself upright, but he didn't let me go. Not yet. Not ever, it seemed. "I know," he said, voice low, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "And you love it." I almost hit him, almost, but then he leaned closer, and the warmth, the closeness, the ridiculous intimacy of it, it all did something to me I had no name for yet. That was the first time he kissed Menet on the lips yet, but just close enough that I could feel the promise of it. I had felt my knees go weak, my pulse spike, and somehow, somewhere, my heart decided it belonged there. The weeks that followed were a blur of stolen glances, teasing texts, and small, reckless adventures. We found a shared love for old bookstores, hidden diners, and midnight walks through quiet neighborhoods. Every day, I discovered new ways he could make me laugh or groan in equal measure. But life, of course, doesn't allow fairy tales without complications. Ryan's family was traditional, wrapped up in old expectations, old rules. My own parents had their doubts and whispered warnings about dating someone like him. And yet, every glance, every touch, every teasing grin between us was a silent rebellion. A tiny, glorious rebellion against a world that wanted to define who we should love. One rainy evening, the tension reached a peak. I had been humiliated in front of the entire class. Our group project went wrong, and I had been pinned as the fool. Humiliated. And the instant Ryan saw me, drenched, eyes stinging with tears I refused to shed, he didn't speak. He didn't need to. He pulled me into his coat, shielded me from the storm, and just held me. Not like the last time I had fainted with panic or laughter. This time it was pure, unwavering protection. "You think anyone can touch you when I'm around?" he asked, almost growling. And in that moment, it wasn't about pride or anger, it was about care, ferocious and tender, a promise without words. I didn't answer because I didn't need to. His presence said it all. We stayed like that for what felt like hours. Rain pouring around us, the city blurring into streaks of neon and silver. Eventually, I laughed, shaky, incredulous sound, and he leaned down, brushing his lips against my temple. "See? Nothing to worry about, princess," he murmured. And I realized that no matter how cruel or skeptical the world could be, there was this wild, uncontainable bond that neither distance, nor doubt, nor fear could break. Our journey wasn't easy. We argued, yes. Misunderstandings flared, insecurities bubbled to the surface, and the world kept throwing small cruelties our way. But each time I found myself in his arms, like I had the very first time I fainted, and it all made sense again. We fought for each other, for every stolen moment, for the tiny sparks that kept igniting between us. And slowly, relentlessly, the teasing turned into kisses, long, heated, urgent, sometimes in public when we thought no one was looking, sometimes in the quiet of his apartment when the world could not intrude. By the time we had reached the end of our first year together, something had shifted. The teasing, the laughter, the fainting, the mock title sit had all become a language of love. I didn't fear being weak, didn't fear being seen, because he had made vulnerability feel like the greatest strength. And every time he pressed his lips to mine, casual yet deliberate, I remembered the first time I had collapsed in his arms, how utterly powerless and completely alive I had felt. He was my chaos and my calm, my laughter and my sanctuary, my rebellion against a world that tried to define love. And I was his princess, his partner, his equal in mischief and tenderness, finally able to stand, finally able to love without reservation. The following weeks felt surreal, like living in a painting that refused to fade. Our moments together became more daring, more intimate, more unshakable. Ryan had this habit of stealing kisses when I least expected them, in the grocery store aisle, leaning into my ear during a lecture, or brushing past me on the crowded sidewalk. Each time I would flush, flustered, and he would grin like the universe had just given him permission to break all the rules. One evening, as summer began to lean into fall, we found ourselves sitting atop the hill overlooking the city skyline. The streets below glimmered with headlights, neon signs, and the quiet hum of life. Ryan leaned back on his hands, watching me with a look that made me forget every argument, every hurt, every ounce of doubt that had ever existed. "Do you ever think about what people would say if they saw us like this?" I asked, voice small, almost hesitant. He tilted his head, eyes narrowing in mock seriousness. "Let them talk. We're not theirs to judge. And if they dare, they can try. But I promise, I'll always catch you like the first time." I laughed, a soft, genuine sound, and leaned against him, feeling the familiar thrum of his heartbeat beneath my ear. The vulnerability of that first fainting episode had transformed into something else entirely. It was no longer a moment of weakness but a testament to the trust and love we had built. Every joke, every teasing comment, every playful shove or roll of the eyes had become a thread in the tapestry of our relationship. The months passed, and life tested us in ways we never anticipated. Friends questioned our choices, strangers threw glances that carried unspoken judgments, and even family members hesitated to fully accept the love we shared. But through it all, we clung to each other, unyielding. The pressure of the outside world only made our connection more profound, more resilient. It was a rebellion, yes, but also a celebration of something raw, pure, and undeniable. Winter arrived with a harshness that mirrored the societal pressure around us. One evening, a holiday party at Ryan's cousin's house became the stage for whispered questions and cautious glances. People nudged and murmured, unsure how to respond to two young men holding hands in the center of the room. I felt the weight of judgment press against my chest, the old fear bubbling up, threatening to choke me. Ryan sensed it immediately. He looped his arm around my waist and pressed a gentle kiss to my temple, right in the middle of the crowded room. His hand was warm, strong, protective. "Let them look. They'll see nothing they can touch. We're ours." And in that moment, surrounded by indifferent guests and curious glances, I realized something essential. Our love wasn't just about us. It was about challenging the world's narrow definitions, about existing unapologetically, about claiming space where society suggested none. With Ryan beside me, I could be both fragile and fierce, vulnerable and invincible. By spring, we had grown into a rhythm that was uniquely ours. Our morning coffee routines, late-night bookstore escapades, and shared playlists became our universe. Ryan's teasing never diminished. If anything, it deepened. I had grown used to his spontaneous kisses and the way he whispered ridiculous, loving titles in my ear, but each time still sent a shiver down my spine. One afternoon, we found ourselves in the same park where I had first fainted into his arms. The sun bathed the grass in golden light, and the fountains sparkled in the distance. I hesitated at the top of the hill, memories of our first encounter flooding back the panic, the warmth, the unspoken promises. Ryan stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from my face, his gaze soft yet mischievous. "You remember this spot?" he asked, voice low. I nodded, unable to speak. Words seemed too clumsy for the magnitude of what I felt. "You were a princess that day," he murmured, smiling, "and I've been stealing my kisses ever since. But now," he paused, eyes darkening with a playful intensity. "I don't think I want to stop." Before I could respond, he pulled me close, lips pressing firmly to mine in a kiss that was tender, demanding, and utterly transformative. I melted into him, all hesitation dissolving. It was more than a kiss. It was a promise, a declaration, a triumph over every doubt and every fear. Around us, the world continued, indifferent and oblivious, but in that embrace, nothing else mattered. Life, of course, continued to challenge us. There were misunderstandings and moments of insecurity, nights when words hurt more than actions ever could. But each time, the memory of the first feint, the first protective embrace, and the countless stolen kisses reminded us why we fought. Love wasn't perfect, but it was ours and it was worth every struggle. One late summer night, as fireflies lit the backyard of my apartment, we lay side by side on a blanket, arms intertwined. I traced circles on his chest absent-mindedly, feeling the rise and fall of his breathing. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked softly, a shadow of doubt in my voice. He turned, eyes locking onto mine with absolute certainty. "Regret what? Choosing you? Loving you? I've never been more certain of anything in my life." I laughed softly, shaking my head. "Even with all the teasing, the public stares, the arguments, especially because of all that," he said. "It made this," he pressed his forehead to mine, "real, ours, unstoppable." And in that moment, I knew he was right. Every struggle, every stolen moment, every small rebellion against the world's expectations had brought us here, to a love that was resilient, tender, and entirely our own. Months later, on a quiet Sunday morning, we found ourselves back at the park once again. The sun was rising, painting the sky in strokes of pink and gold. Ryan grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the hill where it all began. "You know," he said, smirking, "I've been waiting to do this since the day you fainted." I laughed nervously. "What exactly are you talking about?" He didn't answer with words. Instead, he swept me up in his arms, spinning me around before settling me against his chest. Then, without hesitation, he kissed me long, slow, unreserved. It was a kiss that carried years of shared moments, of laughter and tears, of challenges and victories. And as I pressed myself against him, heart racing, I realized that the girl, or rather, the boy who had once collapsed into his arms out of fear and disbelief, had grown into someone unafraid to love, unafraid to be loved, and utterly devoted to him. We sat there, the city awake around us, hand in hand, a quiet triumph in the chaos of the world. The teasing titles, the fainting, the playful arguments, all of it had led to this. A love that was stubborn, wild, tender, and unstoppable. And for the first time since I had met him, I felt completely at peace. Because with Ryan, my heart had a home, my laugh had a cause, and my love had no limits. He leaned down, whispering in that familiar, mischievous tone, "Princess, I think it's time I stopped waiting to steal your kisses." I smiled, a flush of warmth spreading through me. "Good, because I'm not planning to run." And in that wide, sunlit park, amidst the golden light and quiet triumphs, we kissed again freely, fully, and without hesitation, two boys in love, fearless in the face of the world, bound together by laughter, trust, and the kind of intimacy that defies all expectations. The fairy tale wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and that was enough. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.